Hey everybody, thank you for watching this week's episode of Gary Talks. Last week we looked at prequels, so this week we're going to look at sequels. And I've got some great guests lined up. The star of Twisters, Glen Powell, and the producer of that movie, Frank Marshall. And one of the stars of My Spy at the Eternal City, Chloe Coleman. We talked last week about the sheer number of prequels we've been getting, and that's nothing compared to sequels. And by sequel, I just mean the second movie in the franchise. We've already gotten sequels to Inside Out and Twister, and we're also getting sequels to Joker, Gladiator, and Beetlejuice. So today I'm going to rank my favorite sequels in movies, TV, and music. But before I get to that, first, here is my interview with the star of Twisters, Glen Powell. First off, dude, I just have to ask, what is the love affair between people and tornadoes?
There's this really interesting relationship with humans and this natural phenomenon. And you can simultaneously be absolutely terrified of something, but also revere it. And I think that's what this movie really explores. And sometimes that's the most exciting thing, is something that you can't really understand, something that can really hurt you. That's what's really fun about this story, is it's really smart people that are doing really extraordinary things. And that's what makes a movie like this, for me, the reason I was like desperate to be a part of this movie. I've never really identified with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. I've always identified with ordinary people up against extraordinary odds. And I think that's what is the magic of this movie.
Well, I'm sure you got to hang out with storm chasers when you were making this. Did you base any of your character on them?
There are very few similarities between storm chasers. They come from all over the world, all different types of backgrounds. The one thing that brings them together is a fascination with this unexplainable phenomenon. These are people that wouldn't have found themselves in the same car unless they were all fascinated by the same thing. But at the end of the day, this is what binds them together. So I think the Tornado Wranglers represent a family, and that's what Kate's looking for in this movie.
I'm sure it's hard to follow up the great Bill Paxton, but tell us a little bit about your character, Tyler.
I wanted to start out with Tyler Owens as being a self-promoting, what you think he is, which is just a self-promoting, adrenaline junkie. And then you realize there's real depth here, and he really understands why he chases and what he's chasing and why Kate is something worth chasing.
Well, as far as summer movies go, Twisters is perfect, and it was a worthwhile sequel. Thank you so much for being on Gary Talks. Sequels have been around pretty much as long as the movies have. One of the first sequels was Fall of a Nation, a sequel to Birth of a Nation. The first talkie, The Jazz Singer, even had a sequel, The Singing Fool. In the 1930s and 1940s, sequels were common, often with titles that referenced the original film, like The Thin Man was followed by After the Thin Man, Another Thin Man, and several more. The Universal horror movie series, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Wolfman, they all had many sequels to various degrees of success, often calling them Son of, or Daughter of, or Return of. King Kong, Godzilla, various other monster movies all began to have sequels, but really it was James Bond who popularized the sequel, with a new movie basically coming out every single year. It wasn't until the 70s, however, that the modern numbered sequel came into being, with Godfather Part 2 and French Connection Part 2 leading the way. But while those movies were held in high regard, generally sequels began to be mass-produced with lower and lower results, starting with Jaws 2. No genre probably has the market cornered on sequels like horror films. While John Carpenter's Halloween started the slasher film craze, it also started the horror sequel craze, as not only have there been like 153 different Halloween movies, but Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, you name it, pretty much every horror movie has been pumping out sequels and sequels for years and years and years. But the thing we know about the movie business is they wouldn't keep making sequels if people didn't keep eating them up. So apparently, we all love sequels. So now let's take a look at my top 5 favorite movie sequels of all time. Starting at number 5, the movie went with a different director, a completely different tone, and I think paid off and made it an even better movie than the original. Aliens. James Cameron's Aliens masterfully shifts gears from Ridley Scott's atmospheric horror to high-octane action, creating a sequel that not only honors the predecessor, but also stands firmly on its own as a groundbreaking film. This seamless blend of genres results in one of the most exhilarating and influential sci-fi movies ever made. Sigourney Weaver's performance as Ellen Ripley is the heart and soul of Aliens. Weaver reprises her role with a nuanced portrayal that combines strength, vulnerability, and maternal instinct. Ripley's evolution from survivor to warrior is compelling, and her relationship with the young survivor Newt adds emotional depth to the relentless action. Weaver's performance earned her an Academy Award nomination, a rare honor for a sci-fi film. The supporting cast is great. I mean, you've got Michael Biehn, Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, and of course, Paul Reiser being the biggest douchebag Burke. James Cameron's direction is a masterclass in pacing and tension. From the moment the Marines land on LV-426, the film builds towards its explosive climax. The action sequences are impeccably choreographed, utilizing practical effects, miniatures, and early CGI to create believable and terrifying alien adversaries. The use of practical effects, particularly the xenomorph suits and the terrifying alien queen, is a testament to the film's lasting impact on creature design and special effects. Aliens also excels in its exploration of themes such as motherhood, the ethics of corporate greed, and the camaraderie of soldiers facing insurmountable odds. Ripley's maternal instincts towards Newt, juxtaposed with the alien queen's protection of her brood, add a unique layer to the narrative, elevating the film beyond mere action spectacle. Alien's blend of action, horror, and emotional depth ensures its enduring legacy as one of the greatest sequels ever made. Next up is the middle movie of a trilogy, but by my rules, that does still count as a sequel. It's one of the greatest trilogies ever made, and my number 4 favorite sequel, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers is a cinematic triumph that brilliantly continues the saga began in The Fellowship of the Ring. This middle chapter seamlessly blends breathtaking visuals, compelling character arcs, and intense action, delivering a truly epic experience that stands as a high watermark in fantasy filmmaking. One of the film's most impressive accomplishments is its ability to juggle multiple storylines without losing coherence or emotional impact. The narrative deftly shifts between Frodo and Sam's treacherous journey with Gollum, the growing tensions and battles in Rohan, and the defense of Middle-earth against the encroaching darkness. Each storyline is given ample attention, ensuring that every character's journey feels vital and interconnected. The Two Towers excels in its action sequences, none more so than the Battle of Helm's Deep. This huge battle is a masterclass in tension, choreography, and visual effects, blending practical effects with CGI to create a breathtaking and immersive spectacle. Of course, the movie is stolen by Andy Serkis's Gollum. Serkis's groundbreaking performance capture work brings Gollum to life with astonishing realism, creating a complex character torn between his dual personalities of Smeagol and Gollum. This dynamic is both fascinating and tragic, adding depth to the storyline. The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers expands the world of Middle-earth, deepens the characters' arcs, and delivers some of the most memorable and thrilling moments in cinematic history. With its perfect blend of story, character, and spectacle, The Two Towers not only meets, but often surpasses the high standards set by its predecessor. Coming in at number 3 is the second movie from James Cameron on the list. What can you say? The guy knows how to make a great sequel. No, I'm not talking about Avatar 2. I'm talking about Terminator 2. Judgment Day. Terminator 2: Judgment Day is a landmark in the sci-fi action genre, combining cutting-edge special effects, gripping storytelling, and profound themes about humanity and technology. This sequel not only matches the original Terminator, but raises the bar, establishing itself as one of the greatest action films of all time. Schwarzenegger reprises his role as the Terminator, but with a twist. This time, he is the protector rather than the predator, showcasing his versatility and endearing himself to the audience. Schwarzenegger's stoic performance, paired with his deadpan delivery of iconic lines like "Hasta la vista, baby," adds layers of complexity and even humor to his character. Linda Hamilton's portrayal of Sarah Connor is nothing short of transformative. Gone is the frightened waitress from the first film. In her place is a hardened, battle-ready warrior. Hamilton's intense physicality and emotional depth convey Sarah's trauma and unyielding determination, making her one of the most compelling female action heroes in cinema. Edward Furlong, in his debut role as John Connor, brings a youthful rebelliousness and vulnerability that balances the film's more intense moments. His chemistry with Schwarzenegger creates a touching mentor-protector dynamic that forms the heart of the narrative. Robert Patrick as the T-1000 is a revelation. His cold, relentless pursuit as a shape-shifting liquid metal assassin is both terrifying and mesmerizing. The special effects on Terminator 2 were revolutionary for their time, with Industrial Light and Magic's work on the T-1000's morphing effects still impressing decades later. These visuals, coupled with practical effects and stunt work, create action sequences that are thrilling as they are visually stunning. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is more than just a sequel. It's a cinematic triumph that expands and deepens the original's mythology. It has rightfully earned its place as a movie classic. Here comes the one that will shock a lot of people, and a lot of you will be like, are you out of your mind? How can you rank this at number 2? But that's where it comes in for me. The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is often heralded as the greatest sequel in cinematic history, and for good reason. This installment of the Star Wars saga brings depth, emotion, and narrative complexity, cementing its place as a towering achievement in both the science fiction and fantasy genres. From the opening scenes on the icy planet of Hoth, director Irvin Kershner sets a tone that is both grand and intimate. The battle sequences are breathtaking, blending groundbreaking special effects with tightly choreographed action, yet the film never loses sight of its characters' personal struggles and growth. The true power of The Empire Strikes Back lies in its willingness to embrace darker, more mature themes. The film delves into the complexity of the Force, the struggle between good and evil, and the burden of destiny. The iconic revelation of Darth Vader's true identity as Luke's father, spoiler alert, is one of cinema's most shocking twists, forever altering the trajectory of the saga and adding profound emotional stakes. Visually, the film is a masterpiece. The special effects, designed by Industrial Light and Magic, are revolutionary. The Empire Strikes Back is just a triumph of storytelling, character development, and technical innovation. The film is a testament to the power of cinema to transport, challenge, and inspire. So what movie could top The Empire Strikes Back, which everyone says is the best sequel ever? Well, I say only one sequel is better than that. Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2 is an audacious blend of horror and comedy that has delighted fans for decades. The film takes the terrifying premise of the first one and injects it with a dose of manic energy and dark humor, resulting in an experience that's as hilarious as it is horrifying. From the opening scene, it's clear that Raimi is not interested in retreading the same ground. Instead, he opts for a high-octane reimagining, with Bruce Campbell's Ash Williams at the heart of the madness. Campbell's performance is nothing short of iconic. His physical comedy, exaggerated expressions, and relentless enthusiasm transform Ash into a beloved and enduring character. Whether he's battling possessed furniture or chainsawing his own hand, Campbell's commitment to the role is a marvel to watch. The film's practical effects are a standout, with Raimi employing a mix of stop-motion animation, prosthetics, and gallons of fake blood to create a visual feast of gore and gags. Evil Dead 2's influence on the horror genre is immeasurable. It paved the way for future horror comedies, proving that the two genres could coexist successfully. Raimi's direction is visionary, blending kinetic camera work with a keen sense of timing and an unwavering commitment to entertaining the audience. Evil Dead 2 not only matches Evil Dead 1, but it surpasses it, establishing Evil Dead 2 as a seminal work in horror cinema, and it's my favorite sequel of all time. Now, before we get to my top 5 TV sequels ever made, here is my interview with producer of Twisters, and he's produced some great movies throughout the years, Frank Marshall. We're looking at sequels today on the show, and you've been involved with so many great ones over the years. Why was the time now right to make a sequel to Twister?
With the ever-changing weather patterns that we have and the frequency of tornadoes now that seem to be touching down every weekend and all across the heartland and doing more damage and destruction than ever before, we thought, well, maybe we should revisit and come up with a new story about twisters and what is happening in the scientific world to try and reduce or prevent or minimize the impact that twisters have.
Gary Talks airs on TV out here in the Midwest, so we know all about tornadoes. You guys really shot in Oklahoma, right?
You can't beat going to the real place. It's very authentic. It brings a lot of things that you wouldn't imagine if you were shooting somewhere else. Just accidents will happen, or those little surprising things that come along and make the movie more realistic. And so Isaac was very keen on going back to Oklahoma. We had a great time there in the first one, and we had a really, really wonderful time on this one, because it's actually where these kind of situations happen.
Well, I'm getting the Time's Up signal, so thank you so much for being on Gary Talks. Before I rank my top 5 favorite TV sequels, I'm going to tell you one that's not on the list, and that's Frasier. I don't know why, I love Cheers, one of my favorite sitcoms ever, but I never liked Frasier. But I think we can all agree it's probably one of, if not the most successful TV sequel series of all time. And Frasier even has a sequel series of its own now, so that just shows how big it was, but it was not one I liked. So what do I like better than Frasier? Well, I'm probably the only person on the planet who would rank this sequel series above it. Coming in at number 5, Tremors, the series. Set in the small desert town of Perfection, Nevada, Tremors picks up where the films left off, with the community under constant threat from subterranean creatures known as graboids. Michael Gross reprises his role as the gun-toting survivalist Burt Gummer, delivering a performance filled with humor and grit. The series does a great job of blending horror and comedy, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats while also providing plenty of laughs. The characters are quirky and endearing, with the ensemble cast bringing a sense of camaraderie and resilience. While Tremors may not win any awards for groundbreaking television, it's a fun and nostalgic trip for fans of the franchise and a solid entry in the creature feature genre. Next up, we've already seen him once on the list. He was in my favorite sequel movie ever made, and my number 4 favorite sequel TV series, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell returns as the iconic chainsaw-wielding Ash Williams, now older but no less brash, and ready to battle the forces of evil once more. The show brilliantly captures the essence of the films, blending horror and comedy with the perfect balance of gore and wit. The special effects are top-notch, delivering the blood-soaked, over-the-top action that fans expect. The writing is sharp and filled with dark humor, ensuring that even the most gruesome scenes are laced with laughs. The new characters, including Ash's sidekicks Pablo and Kelly, bring fresh energy to the series and complement Campbell's performance perfectly. It's a towering achievement that the show can stand on equal footing with the original trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies ever made. Coming in at number 3 is one of my favorite shows on TV right now. It's wrapping up its final season, and that's Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is a brilliant revival of the classic Karate Kid franchise, deftly blending nostalgia with fresh storytelling. Set decades after the original films, the series reintroduces us to Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, now middle-aged and grappling with their pasts and present-day challenges. The show excels in flipping the script, presenting Johnny as a down-and-out anti-hero striving to rebuild his life and reopen the Cobra Kai dojo. Meanwhile, Daniel has become a successful car dealership owner, but struggles to balance his professional life with the values he learned from Mr. Miyagi. This role reversal adds depth to both characters and highlights the shades of gray and their long-standing rivalry. The younger cast brings a fresh energy and perspective, dealing with contemporary issues like bullying, peer pressure, and social media. Cobra Kai has numerous callbacks and cameos from original cast members, but it can also stand on its own as a really fun series. So talk about a kind of convoluted history. Last week on my prequel list, I had a movie that was a prequel to a television show, but now we're looking at the sequel to that television show and that prequel movie. It's Twin Peaks: The Return. Twin Peaks: The Return is a masterful and surreal continuation of David Lynch's iconic series, delivering a blend of mystery, horror, and abstract art that challenges and enthralls viewers. Set 25 years after the original series, the show sees the return of many beloved characters, most notably Agent Dale Cooper, whose journey is central to the season's sprawling narrative. Lynch's direction is as visionary as ever, creating a haunting atmosphere filled with bizarre images, cryptic dialogue, and dreamlike sequences. The show delves deeper into the supernatural elements introduced in the original series, expanding the myth of the Black Lodge and its enigmatic inhabitants. The series' unconventional narrative structure demands patience and attention, rewarding viewers with moments of profound emotion and mind-bending twists, making a truly unforgettable TV experience. And now my favorite sequel of all time. I think it's one of the greatest TV shows of all time. I figure most of you, even the ones that argue with me over whether Empire Strikes Back is better or worse than Evil Dead, most of you will agree that the greatest TV sequel of all time was Star Trek: The Next Generation. Set nearly a century after the original Star Trek, The Next Generation introduces us to a new crew aboard the starship USS Enterprise D, led by the wise and dignified Captain Jean-Luc Picard. The show excels in exploring complex moral and ethical dilemmas through its thought-provoking storylines, often reflecting contemporary social issues. It strikes a perfect balance between episodic adventures and ongoing character development, from the android Data, who seeks to understand humanity, to the Klingon officer Worf, grappling with his heritage. Each character brings depth and unique perspectives. The writing is sharp and insightful, often blending action with philosophical inquiry and political intrigue. Iconic episodes like The Measure of a Man, The Best of Both Worlds, and Inner Light showcase the series at its best with its strong storytelling. There have been many Star Trek series made over the years, but The Next Generation is not only the best sequel series, but it's the best of any Star Trek property. When we think of sequels, we think of movies and TV shows, but there have actually been quite a few sequel albums as well. One of my all-time favorites was Kiss, Alive 2. They basically used all the tricks they had from Alive 1, but did it with the songs on the 3 hit albums that had come out since. Plus, we even got a few studio tracks in the mix. In that same vein as Kiss, Alice Cooper loves sequel albums, as he has made 2 to his iconic Welcome to My Nightmare album. First was Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, which continued the story of Steven from that first album. And then a few years ago, he did a different sequel called Welcome to, the number 2, My Nightmare. While not as strong as Alice Goes to Hell, it was still a fun revisit of the Steven storyline. Speaking of storylines, Coheed and Cambria have made a career out of albums telling the sci-fi story The Armor Wars. Their second album, In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, was a sequel to their first, but it was actually the third chapter in the story. Make any sense? It doesn't need to when the songs are as good as this. Eminem also did a long-awaited sequel to his smash album, The Marshall Mathers LP, and named it The Marshall Mathers LP 2.
They said I rap like a robot, so call me rap. But for me to rap like a computer must be in my genes. I got a laptop in my back pocket.
But it should come as no surprise that my favorite sequel album ever was the sequel to my favorite album from the 70s, Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell 2. While maybe not as strong as the original, it was still a super strong collaboration between Meatloaf and Jim Steinman, and like most sequels, it doesn't live up to the original, but is still pretty damn fun. Well, we're almost out of time, but before we go, take a look at my interview with one of the stars of My Spy, The Eternal City, Chloe Coleman. Hey Chloe, thank you so much for being on Gary Talks.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I just watched My Spy, The Eternal City last night, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I just wanted to, you're welcome. I wanted to find out, how did your character change from the first movie, and how did that impact your relationship with JJ?
So the dynamic is definitely different. Sophie is much older. She's a teenager in high school now, and JJ really wants to be her father, and he's become super paternal, and in that way, the dynamic is different because now she's wanting space from him and she's wanting independence, and it's causing all this conflict with them together, and then at the same time they're trying to save the world, so it's a whole whirlwind of things.
I really loved the opening scene in the movie. I don't want to give away too much, but it was crazy over the top. What was it like to shoot that?
It was a lot, but it was really fun, and I'm glad that we were so methodical about it, and I think I think the crew and Pete did a really good job of making sure everything cut together well. And it was just so fun. I was along for the ride. I mean, I was just there doing my thing. I did iFly training, which is a skydiving simulation before, to get used to the mechanics of the physicality for skydiving. So it was just awesome. I love the opening.
I'm a big fan when sequels start with a crazy action scene. We don't need to be introduced to the characters, we don't need the setup, we already know everybody, and it really sets the tone for the movie. As far as sequels go, what was different in shooting a sequel than making the original film?
I think what was cool is that we were all already knew each other, so it made going into it super easy, and we all knew our characters. Like it was easy to step into Sophie. The hardest thing was just making a couple adjustments for her as she's becoming a teenager. But I'd say it was just very comfortable being with everybody again, and even our new additions just fit in like that, and it was a great group of people.
I have to say, the locations in this movie looked amazing. What was it like shooting in Italy?
It was so much fun. I would do anything to go back. I mean, just like day after day, I would be blown away by what I was seeing. It was just so beautiful. I love Italy. I would go back any chance I get.
If they make a third My Spy, maybe you'll get to go somewhere even more beautiful than Italy.
I hope so. I'd love to do more travel. Maybe somewhere like Japan, Tokyo would be so cool.
The focus of Gary Talks today is sequels. Other than your movie, what's one of your favorite sequels to watch?
A sequel that I love watching?
Yeah.
I really like the Top Gun Maverick sequel. I think that's such a great movie, and the stunts are also really incredible.
Well, maybe we can get a Top Gun My Spy crossover someday.
I'd love to fly a plane. I'd love to do plane work. That would be so cool.
How about you fly a plane over Japan in My Spy 3?
Exactly, merging it all together.
Chloe, thank you so much for being on Gary Talks.
Thank you. Bye.
So what'd you guys think? What are some of your favorite sequels of all time in movies, TV, or music? Did I have some on my list that I shouldn't have had? Were there ones you like better than I like? Let me know. How can you do that? Find me on GaryTalks.tv. I've got links to all my socials, uncut versions of these episodes, and audio podcasts. And be sure and join me right here next week for another episode of Gary Talks. Thanks for watching.
From capes to tapes, Gary's on the case. He's breaking down each scene, every place. On Gary Talks, he's quick with his peculiar wit. From plot twists to the comic strips, Gary's